get my social security number that you will never see Gucci Mane or Pooh Shiesty standing next to each other again, on a picture again, never on a song again. That shit'll never happen.
Damn. The streets have been buzzing for weeks about this whole situation, and now we finally got some answers. Gucci Mane just broke his silence on getting robbed by his own artist, Pooh Shiesty. And homie, this response is not what anybody expected. We're talking about deleted posts, money being taken back, and a whole lot of disrespect that's got the hip-hop world shook. But before we get into Gucci's savage response, we gotta break down how we even got to this point. How did a mentor-student relationship turn into one of the most disrespectful betrayals in recent hip-hop history? Stay locked in because this whole situation is way deeper than y'all think, and Gucci's response just made it even more personal. Let's start with the basics, fam. Gucci Mane has been a legend in this game for over 2 decades. This man helped create the whole trap music sound that runs hip-hop today. From his early mixtapes to building 1017 Records into a powerhouse, Gucci's been discovering and developing talent that goes on to dominate the charts. Now, Pooh Shiesty, real name Lontrell Williams, came up in Memphis, a city that's always been known for producing some of the hardest rappers in the game. Before he ever touched the mic professionally, Pooh was already moving different in Memphis streets. His name was ringing bells for all the wrong reasons, but that street credibility would eventually become part of his rap appeal. The young Memphis rapper had that raw, unfiltered energy that reminded people of early Gucci Mane. He wasn't trying to be pretty with his bars. He was telling real stories about real situations. And that authenticity was exactly what caught Gucci's attention. But here's where it gets interesting. Pooh Shiesty wasn't some unknown kid when Gucci found him. He already had a buzz in Memphis, already had people talking about his potential. What he needed was someone with the industry connections and experience to take him to the next level. The story of how Gucci Mane discovered Pooh Shiesty is actually pretty wild. Word is that Gucci first heard about Pooh through street connections. People who knew both the music game and the street game were telling Gucci about this young cat from Memphis who had bars and credibility. When Gucci finally heard Pooh's music, he knew immediately that this was someone special. The raw talent was undeniable, but more than that, Pooh had that authentic street perspective that you can't fake or manufacture. In a game full of industry plants and manufactured personas, Pooh Shiesty was the real deal. The signing process wasn't some long, drawn-out negotiation. When Gucci wants someone on his team, he moves fast. He reached out to Pooh directly, and the conversation was straightforward. Gucci saw the potential, Pooh needed the platform, and 1017 Records needed that Memphis energy. For Pooh, signing with Gucci Mane was like hitting the lottery. He went from being a local Memphis artist to being part of one of the most respected labels in hip-hop. Gucci didn't just sign him, he took him under his wing, gave him access to top producers, and put the full weight of 1017 behind his career. The early days of their relationship seemed perfect. Gucci was the veteran mentor, Pooh was the hungry student, and together they were making music that had the streets and the industry paying attention. Nobody could have predicted how this story would end. But then, life happened. Pooh Shiesty caught a federal case and ended up doing time, which put his career on pause right when it was starting to take off.
Popular rapper arrested. He's accused of shooting a security guard at a South Florida gentleman's club and will remain behind bars.
For most artists, this would have been the end of the story, but Gucci Mane isn't most label owners. Throughout Pooh Shiesty's incarceration, Gucci kept his name alive. He would mention him in interviews, post about him on social media, and make sure people didn't forget about the young Memphis rapper. This kind of loyalty from a label boss is rare in the industry, and it showed how much Gucci believed in Pooh's potential. While Pooh was locked up, the hip-hop landscape kept evolving. New artists emerged, trends changed, and the game moved on. But Gucci made sure that when Pooh came home, he would still have a place in the industry. The anticipation for Pooh Shiesty's release was real. Fans, industry insiders, and fellow artists were all waiting to see what he would do with his second chance. Gucci had kept the door open, but it was up to Pooh to walk through it. When Pooh finally got released, Gucci was one of the first people to welcome him home publicly. The Instagram post was genuine, Gucci expressing how proud he was of his artist and how excited he was to get back to making music together. But something had changed during Pooh's time away. When he came home, instead of immediately reconnecting with Gucci and 1017, Pooh started gravitating toward Memphis connections, specifically toward Yo Gotti and CMG. Now this is where the story gets complicated, because Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane have serious history. We're talking about a beef that goes back years and involves some very personal issues. The beef between Gucci and Gotti isn't just about music. It's about respect, territory, and some very personal violations. The root of their conflict goes back to Gucci's wife, Keisha Kaur. Before she was Mrs. Gucci Mane, Keisha had a relationship with Yo Gotti. This happened while Gucci was incarcerated, and when he found out, it created a rift that never healed. In street culture, certain lines can't be crossed, and messing with someone's woman while they're locked up is definitely one of those lines. So when Pooh Shiesty started showing love to Yo Gotti publicly, it wasn't just about Memphis loyalty. It was about choosing sides in a conflict that had very personal implications for Gucci. Every time Pooh posted about CMG or showed up at Gotti events, it was like a slap in the face to the man who had kept his career alive. The Memphis connection was strong though. Pooh was. From there, his family was there, and Yo Gotti represented hometown success in a way that Gucci, as an Atlanta artist, never could. But loyalty in hip-hop isn't just about geography. It's about who was there for you when you needed the most. Then came the incident that nobody saw coming. Reports started circulating that Pooh Shiesty had actually robbed Gucci Mane. Not just disrespected him or violated their business relationship, but actually took his jewelry and money at gunpoint. According to the streets, this happened during a studio session. The story goes that Pooh and some of his people were in the studio with Gucci when things got heated. Whether it was about money, respect, or the ongoing tension over Pooh's Memphis connections, the situation escalated quickly. The details are still murky, but multiple sources confirm that Gucci was forced to give up his watch and wedding ring. For someone like Gucci Mane, who's been in the streets and the industry for decades, getting robbed by his own artist is the ultimate disrespect. What made it even worse was that this wasn't some random street robbery. This was a calculated move by someone Gucci had trusted, someone he had invested in, someone he had treated like family. The betrayal cut deeper than just the financial loss. The fact that Pooh's people were involved made it clear that this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. This was planned, which means Pooh had been thinking about violating Gucci for a while before he actually did it. For Gucci, this had to feel like the ultimate betrayal. He had kept Pooh's name alive during his incarceration, welcomed him home with open arms, and this was how he was repaid? Now, here's where Gucci showed why he survived in this game for so long. Instead of responding with immediate violence or going on social media with emotional rants, Gucci made calculated moves that spoke louder than any diss track could. First, he quietly deleted the welcome home post for Pooh Shiesty. This might seem small, but in the social media age, removing that public support was a clear message. Gucci was officially distancing himself from Pooh and everything they had built together. But the real power move was financial. Sources close to the situation say that Gucci immediately moved to recoup whatever money he had given Pooh when he came home. Whether this was advance money, jewelry, or other gifts, Gucci made sure to get back what he could. This response was genius because it hit Pooh where it hurt most, his pockets and his reputation. By taking back the money and removing public support, Gucci was essentially saying that their relationship never existed. The beauty of this response is that it was legal and business-focused. Gucci didn't give his enemies any ammunition by responding emotionally or violently. He just cut off the resources and moved on like Pooh never mattered. For someone like Pooh, who was still trying to rebuild his career after prison, losing Gucci's support was devastating. The connections, the resources, the credibility that came with being a 1017 artist, all of that disappeared overnight. What this situation really highlighted was the ongoing tension between Memphis and Atlanta in hip-hop. Both cities have strong musical traditions and proud artists who rep their hometowns hard. For Pooh Shiesty, choosing Memphis over Atlanta wasn't just about geography. It was about authenticity and belonging. In Memphis, he was a hometown hero. In Atlanta, he was just another artist on Gucci's roster. Yo Gotti represented everything Pooh wanted to be, a Memphis legend who had built his own empire without compromising his city's identity. CMG was offering Pooh something that 1017 couldn't, the chance to be the face of Memphis hip-hop. But loyalty in hip-hop is supposed to transcend geography. When someone invests in you, supports you, and keeps your name alive during your darkest moments, that creates a bond that should be stronger than hometown pride. Pooh's decision to side with Memphis over loyalty showed where his priorities were. He chose immediate acceptance and hometown love over the long-term relationship that had actually sustained his career. For Gucci, this had to be particularly painful because he had genuinely believed in Pooh's potential. This wasn't just business. Gucci had seen something special in the young Memphis rapper and had invested emotionally in his success. The hip-hop industry watched this situation unfold with a mixture of shock and understanding. On one hand, robbing your mentor is unforgivable. On the other hand, the pull of hometown loyalty is something every artist understands. Other 1017 artists had to be watching this situation closely, wondering if their own loyalty would be tested. Gucci's response sent a clear message: betray the family and you're cut off completely. Industry veterans who had worked with both Gucci and Pooh were caught in an awkward position. Many of them understood both perspectives, but couldn't publicly support what Pooh had done. The Memphis hip-hop community was divided. Some supported Pooh for choosing the city, while others felt he had handled the situation wrong. You can rep your hometown without disrespecting the people who helped you get there. Atlanta artists predictably sided with Gucci. The city's hip-hop community is tight-knit, and disrespecting one of their legends is disrespecting all of them. The situation also highlighted the ongoing regional dynamics in hip-hop, with different areas having different codes about loyalty, respect, and business. In the end, both artists probably lost something in this situation. Pooh Shiesty lost a powerful mentor and industry connection. Gucci Mane lost an artist he had genuinely believed in and invested time and money developing. For Pooh, the immediate gain of Memphis acceptance might not be worth the long-term cost of burning bridges with one of hip-hop's most influential figures. Gucci's connections run deep in the industry, and having him as an enemy could limit opportunities down the road. For Gucci, this situation was a reminder that loyalty can't be bought or manufactured. You can give someone opportunities, but you can't make them grateful or loyal. The hip-hop community learned that even the strongest mentor-student relationships can be destroyed by conflicting loyalties and poor decisions. Success in this industry requires more than just talent. It requires wisdom, loyalty, and the ability to navigate complex relationships. This situation also showed how personal relationships and business relationships intersect in hip-hop. The beef between Gucci and Yo Gotti over Keisha Kaur created a situation where Pooh had to choose sides, and he chose poorly. At the end of the day, this whole situation comes down to respect and loyalty. Gucci Mane had every right to feel betrayed, and his response was measured and appropriate. He didn't escalate the situation into violence, but he made sure Pooh understood the consequences of his actions. Pooh Shiesty's decision to rob his mentor will follow him for the rest of his career. In an industry built on relationships and reputation, this kind of betrayal doesn't get forgotten or forgiven easily. The real tragedy is that this situation was completely avoidable. Pooh could have maintained his Memphis connections while still respecting his relationship with Gucci. Instead, he chose the most disrespectful path possible. For fans of both artists, this situation is disappointing because it represents wasted potential. The music they could have made together, the success they could have achieved, all of that is gone because of poor decisions and conflicting loyalties. But this is hip-hop, where loyalty is everything and betrayal has consequences. Gucci Mane's response showed why he survived and thrived in this game for so long. He knows how to handle disrespect without destroying himself in the process. The saga continues, but for now, the message is clear. Don't bite the hand that feeds you, because that hand might just take back everything it ever gave.
Little boy, hey man, I don't realize you Mike Wayne free, man. I've been chasing, drinking, fake. I know I ain't. Team fed my back, brr gang.
Imagine this scenario. You're just driving around Memphis in your burgundy vehicle, minding your business, when suddenly gunfire starts tearing through your car. A stray bullet hits you and leaves you unable to move from the waist down for the rest of your existence. Why? Because some street kid mistakenly believed you were connected to his enemies. This exact tragedy happened when an everyday person found themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time because of Lil Hank, the most dedicated member of Pooh Shiesty's inner circle. This young man opened fire on the completely wrong vehicle, left a man permanently immobilized, and then crashed his own car like an amateur while trying to escape. But wait, there's more to this wild story. Even sitting behind prison walls serving 18 years, this individual maintains the same mentality, bragging on social media that his rivals would already be dead if he wasn't incarcerated. No jokes here. By the time you finish watching this video, you'll realize exactly why Pooh Shiesty constantly references Lil Hank in his music, and why this person might actually be the most dangerous enforcer Memphis has ever seen. Stick with us until the very end. because we're going to walk you through the whole narrative of how dedication and devotion resulted in nearly 2 decades behind bars. Let me explain this situation clearly. Little Hank isn't just some random person from the streets. Since the very beginning, this individual has been putting in serious effort for Chopper Gang. And when I say effort, I'm talking about the kind that landed him in prison for 18 years straight. But before we dive deeper, you need to understand just how serious this commitment really is. Hank and Pooh Shiesty have been connected since they were kids growing up in South Memphis. I'm referring to Cane Creek Apartments, where making it meant you either fully committed or you didn't survive. These young people weren't messing around. From day one, they were living that true street life. The facts back this up too. Pooh Shiesty transformed from just a Memphis artist into someone pulling millions of views from one single conflict. Hank was in the streets the entire time, making sure his crew remained safe and protected. According to street knowledge and various credible sources, Hank built his reputation early. While other young guys were focused on school and relationships, this dude was already proving himself as someone who wouldn't hesitate to do whatever was needed. That's exactly the kind of dedication that established Chopper Gang from the very start. Before we go further into Hank's background, it's crucial that you comprehend how Memphis operates because it's completely different from most other cities. Memphis combines southern warmth with raw intensity, creating some of the nation's most unified yet most violent organizations. We're discussing a city where living where you live can cut your life expectancy by 20 years. The South, Memphis region, which is where Chopper Gang started, is particularly intense. You've got residents sleeping away from windows to prevent getting struck by stray shots, and teenagers carrying heavy weaponry as if they're everyday items. This setting produces a unique perspective. Your only option is to defend your people, no matter the cost, or you become another victim. There's no middle choice. Hank was raised in this atmosphere, where showing any weakness meant getting taken out and proving your ride or die status meant climbing the ranks. Memphis gangs operate differently too. You see nationwide groups like Crips and Bloods, but you also have hybrid groups and smaller factions that follow their own guidelines. Chopper Gang belonged to that second group. They weren't restricted by traditional gang rules, which made them much more unpredictable and dangerous. Let me break down how Chopper Gang actually came into existence, because this wasn't some quick thing that happened overnight. Pooh Shiesty, Big 30, Little Hank, plus a few other serious individuals from different Memphis neighborhoods made the choice to unite and make money however they could. We're talking about the 2000s period, when Memphis had that unfiltered rawness where you had to prove yourself repeatedly. Pooh Shiesty naturally took the leadership position. This guy had the ideas, the personality, and most importantly, the street respect needed to control things. His own father was already a prominent figure in Memphis criminal circles, involved in various enterprises and managing his own legal problems. That background gave Pooh automatic credibility, but it also made him a target. Every organization needs soldiers though, and that's exactly when Lil Hank stepped up. While Pooh managed finances and developed his music career, Hank operated on the ground, making sure nobody attempted to challenge Chopper Gang's standing. The organization was clear and efficient, Pooh Shiesty at the helm making decisions, and everyone else, including Hank, Big 30, and the remaining squad, following directions and accomplishing what needed accomplishing. What distinguished Hank was his enthusiasm for accepting the riskiest responsibilities. When other crew members might think twice or search for simpler options, Hank jumped at the opportunity to be in the front. This recognition gave him the position of Pooh's primary enforcer. That responsibility came with both recognition and obligations. Around 2018 to 2019, as Pooh Shiesty began gaining music industry attention, Hank continued operating in the streets to allow his friend to focus on his career without dealing with street complications. That separation of work was ideal. Pooh could be the public face, while Hank took care of the business nobody discussed. Starting out, Chopper Gang's primary goal was controlling their neighborhoods and establishing themselves. Memphis is relatively compact, where everyone is familiar with everyone else. Information travels rapidly about who's really about action and who's just speaking. Hank made certain Chopper Gang was clearly the real deal. Based on street accounts, Hank was involved in numerous situations that helped build Chopper Gang's reputation. We're discussing thefts, gunfire, and neighborhood control that generally don't show up on news reports. Nevertheless, in street communities, these situations became myths, and Hank earned respect. There's one famous situation that Memphis still discusses involving a competing group attempting to gain control of Chopper Gang's area. Instead of debating or making speeches, Hank allegedly took direct steps that communicated a powerful statement. This represented Chopper Gang's ground, and anybody attempting to modify that would experience repercussions. Hank's importance grew during this time frame. When Pooh was creating songs in Atlanta and Los Angeles studios, Hank remained in Memphis, guaranteeing nobody tried to make moves while he was absent. The street world values accomplishments, yet they also examine. Hank acted as the protection that maintained Chopper Gang's reputation. When Pooh Shiesty started achieving mainstream success, making songs alongside Lil Durk, plus different significant artists, Hank continued putting in effort at the street level. This situation was interesting. Pooh was rising to celebrity status while his primary operator remained behind the scenes, managing situations that couldn't be discussed in interviews or posts. The loyalty operated in both directions, though. Despite Pooh's explosion in popularity, he maintained awareness of who was handling Memphis. That explains why Hank appears in practically every song. Those weren't just mentions, they symbolized respect for the work happening in the background. Nevertheless, higher position brought heightened investigation by authorities. As Chopper Gang's visibility grew, so did law enforcement focus from Memphis police and government agencies. This placed additional strain on Hank, who was already functioning in a risky situation. Here comes the interesting part, everybody. Memphis contains this persistent South and North conflict that's been active for extended periods. And Chopper Gang being South-based automatically meant opposition with specific Northside groups. Their primary rival was EBG, Everyone Gangsta. And these individuals were not being nice when Pooh Shiesty delivered that section on Back in Blood featuring Lil Durk. He wasn't just rhyming. This person was communicating about a specific robbery where Chopper Gang entered EBG territory and stole valuable resources. Yeah, you know who stole that from you. Come retrieve it through force. That wasn't expressing something metaphorically. That was a personal challenge to the competition. The occasion Pooh discussed involved Chopper Gang associates under Hank's direction entering an EBG location and taking multiple guns. This wasn't merely stealing. It was a strategic action designed to humiliate EBG and demonstrate that Chopper Gang could strike anywhere. The psychological damage was as important as the physical losses. The problem intensified when EBG answered with their Back in Blood response track, essentially announcing conflict against Chopper Gang. They distributed CGK, Chopper Gang Killer, merchandise and apparel. However, Hank wasn't prepared to just respond through music. Based on reports from Memphis streets, Hank was advocating for quick counterattacks, planning to demonstrate to EBG that Chopper Gang was more than just musicians. They represented serious business. However, EBG wasn't the only group with Chopper Gang problems. Memphis street dynamics involve several groups, organizations, and personal conflicts that together form a complicated situation ready to explode suddenly. Hank found himself managing multiple problems. He was consistently ready to maintain Chopper Gang's image. Hank's position as Chopper Gang's dedicated representative indicated that all of Pooh's problems turned into his problems to manage. This meant Hank existed in perpetual readiness, prepared to act against possible risks that might not actually exist. The stress from being the primary soldier for an organization gathering rivals faster than they could monitor was wearing him down. The street environment also included smaller groups and individual problems that weren't discussed publicly, yet were equally risky. Memphis contains a value system where disrespect requires rapid response. Hank carried responsibility for delivering that reaction on behalf of Chopper Gang. Now we arrive at the moment that caused Hank's arrest. This is where dedication transformed into nearly 2 decades in prison. It was 2020, and Memphis street tension had reached highest levels. Chopper Gang had numerous active conflicts, and everyone was cautiously observing. The Back in Blood song had turned into a national hit, bringing extra visibility to Memphis streets and raising stakes for all participants. Hank was traveling across the city, likely taking care of gang business, when he spotted a red Infinity. You must grasp the psychology. When you're actively battling multiple organizations, every unfamiliar vehicle presents danger. Every stranger could represent an adversary. This ongoing state of stress is precisely what the streets inflict on your thoughts. This is the moment things fell apart, everybody. Hank felt certain he recognized that automobile. He suspected the enemies were moving via Chopper Gang's neighborhood. The vehicle resembled descriptions of autos EBG members had been operating. In that single moment, Hank made a choice that would modify several people's lives permanently. Without thinking, this individual started shooting, assuming he was defending his group and conveying a warning to his competitors. From his perspective, this was just conducting his daily responsibilities for Chopper Gang. He might have imagined he was terminating an opponent and gaining respect from his organization. But, surprising turn, it wasn't opposing forces whatsoever. It was an ordinary resident, probably heading home from his job or dealing with responsibilities, who unfortunately had a car matching what the competitors had. The regular person received numerous gunshots and became paralyzed from his midsection downward. His entire existence changed instantaneously from mistaken vehicle identification. The injured individual was simply working to sustain his family. He had zero gang associations, participated in no street conflicts, and had no awareness that operating a red vehicle in that location at that moment would take away his ability to move. Within moments, he transformed from somebody managing his life independently to requiring help for every daily task. Now here's something that illustrates this dedication to crew mentality perfectly. Rather than examining whether he got the correct target, Hank attempted to get away. Yet, fate intervened quickly. While operating at high speeds, presumably experiencing anxiety about his actions, he couldn't manage the automobile and collided with something stable. The accident was intense enough to make the car non-functional and trap him at the location. Individuals watching called emergency services, and when they showed up, they located Hank, still inside his damaged automobile, unable to leave. The evidence was clear. Bullet remains, individual accounts, and Hank's position at the location made it straightforward. That accident determined what happened next. Law enforcement discovered him at the location, connected him to the violence, and case closed. Game finished. An 18-year penalty for serious assault, and a working person stuck in a wheelchair for life. Everything happened because Hank was so dedicated to performing his job for Chopper Gang that he didn't pause to ensure he was targeting correctly. The court case versus Hank was simple yet heartbreaking. The legal team had physical proof, person accounts, and an understandable reason based on Memphis gang disputes. Hank's attorneys attempted different strategies, though the proof was simply too powerful to fight against. During the court proceedings, information came out regarding the victim's conditions. The person wasn't simply immobilized. He required continuous health support, regular doctor visits, and emotional recovery. His loved ones required complete life modifications to manage his new situation. The actual impact of Hank's rapid choice became obvious in that room. The judge, in communicating the 18-year decision, particularly mentioned how unnecessary the crime was. This wasn't about protection or even revenge against an enemy gang member. This involved a regular individual becoming a victim of street violence by pure misfortune. For Hank's relations, the judgment was heartbreaking. They misplaced a relative, youngster, and companion to a system that gave no grace for gang offenses. Nevertheless, they had to manage understanding that Hank's decisions had broken another family's world. That single moment's results extended far beyond the immediate individuals involved. You might believe that 2 decades in prison would change someone's perspective, create self-reflection, and perhaps produce regret. However, not this individual. Lil Hank maintained his aggressive street attitude from his cell. Based on reports and internet posts, after his conviction, Hank sustained his mindset. This person actually went on social networks declaring that his adversaries continued existing just because he remained imprisoned. Can you picture that? This young guy actually declared that his opposition should appreciate his incarceration because he'd eliminate them otherwise. That demonstrates serious street mentality. The statement displayed zero regret toward the innocent target, no recognition of the miscalculation that led to his imprisonment. Instead, Hank appeared to view his jail time as temporary rather than payback for his conduct. This behavior demonstrated the extent that street dedication had embedded itself in his thoughts. Commitment operates in both directions here too. Even though Hank's miscalculation cost an innocent individual his mobility and put him in prison for nearly 2 decades, Pooh Shiesty continues to support and maintains Hank's significance in his recordings. This represents the kind of connection Chopper Gang constructed, together forever, regardless of repercussions. The continual references in Pooh's recordings provide multiple purposes. They keep Hank's position alive in street awareness. They convey to remaining Chopper Gang associates that dedication brings benefits even through difficult circumstances. They reinforce the belief that Hank represented a fighter who surrendered for the group. Law enforcement implemented Hank's scenario as a cautionary story regarding why organized gang action required harsher intervention. The circumstance of an innocent person becoming permanently immobilized as a result of street conflicts supplied law enforcement with additional justification in their battle against street organization. For additional Memphis inhabitants, Hank's situation performed as both caution and peculiar motivation. Certain people examined the 18-year consequence and concluded that street existence carried excessive danger. Remaining people saw Hank's dedication to Chopper Gang and regarded him as a symbol of standing firm when facing difficulty. But truthfully, folks, this scenario demonstrates the negative aspects of that ride-or-die dedication. Hank felt so eager to establish himself and maintain his crew that he committed an action that harmed multiple individuals. The shot individual remains unable to move, managing healthcare bills, routine doctor visits, and an essentially distinct life. His loved ones potentially handle the psychological and money problems of supporting someone with lasting disability. The victim's experience represents something typically neglected in these narratives. He went from managing his existence autonomously with ambitions to depending on others for fundamental requirements. The mental suffering of suddenly becoming immobilized impacts not just him, however, the people he cares about. And what for? A car confusion that shouldn't have taken place if Hank had simply paused to confirm his focus. Instead of operating as Pooh Shiesty's right hand, assisting create the Chopper Gang business, he's confined to a jail cell for 18 years, losing his greatest years and seeing his partners prosper from cells. The street community respects dedication, definitely, though there's a line between dedication and stupidity. Hank exceeded that threshold, and currently, all involved are paying consequences. The victim, his household, Hank himself, plus even Chopper Gang since they misplaced their primary warrior to an avoidable miscalculation. That's the genuine situation with that street mentality that gets celebrated in recordings. It seems impressive in the music and generates street reputation, yet once it fails, the results are everlasting. Hank evolved from being Pooh Shiesty's most depended on warrior into serving as a warning about what takes place when dedication becomes careless. The system that creates street soldiers focuses on the concept that displaying your commitment via violence represents the greatest kind of recognition. Yet this perspective disregards the permanent impacts of these actions. It elevates immediate fame over lasting autonomy and achievement. Looking at everything, Little Hank's situation demonstrates both a demonstration of dedication plus a lesson regarding the expense of that dedication. This young individual was prepared to surrender everything for Chopper Gang. Ultimately, that's precisely what occurred. He surrendered everything and lost. Pooh Shiesty proceeded to finalize significant arrangements with Gucci Mane, plus Atlantic Records, producing 60,000 sales initial period and transforming into one of hip-hop's prominent names. Simultaneously, the individual who supported that safety is completing 18 years for an avoidable miscalculation. The situation is tragic. As Pooh constructed his business, the individual securing that company harmed himself attempting to protect it. Finally, Hank's scenario communicates that street soldier life isn't enduring. You may collect recognition in communities, your name might appear in recordings. However, when issues develop, you're the person in that jail space while everyone progresses. The streets will consistently recognize Little Hank as Pooh Shiesty's most dedicated follower, the person who would compromise everything for his group. Yet the individual in that wheelchair will identify him as the individual who transformed his trajectory permanently through vehicle confusion. That represents the genuine expense of this existence. Everybody. The recordings make it look exciting, though the facts are 18-year penalties and permanently disabled individual. Hank comprehended that lesson through experience and currently maintains plenty of moments to evaluate if that dedication truly justified the price. What's your viewpoint on this scenario? Did Hank's dedication demonstrate loyalty or just bad judgment?